much for him, and he wants them to be siblings, so Jinwoo mentions that he will start treating him as his younger brother. We see the mysterious man in prison, as the guards talk about him, revealing that his name is Il-hwan, and he was trapped in a gate 10 years ago, but he ended up in America. They add that he can't speak English, and they needed a Korean interpreter to interrogate him, so they decided to call Dong-soo. Jinwoo returns to the demon's castle, as he recalls that he was level 20 when he fought the Cerberus, but now his level has tripled, so he thinks he can easily defeat the monsters in the dungeon. He uses his key to open the door, and he receives a quest, which tells him to collect 10,000 demon souls in the castle. He notes that it's a ridiculous amount, but he's determined to complete it, because he needs to collect the items needed for the elixir of life. We see Yu-jin talking to his father, and he mentions that he wants to become the leader of their guild. But Han knows that Jinwoo helped Yu-jin obtain the guild master license, so he thinks Yu-jin isn't worthy to become their leader. But he still insists on becoming the guild master, so Han decides to give him a chance, under the condition that he recruits Jinwoo into their guild. We return to Jinwoo, as he defeats the demons on the first floor, but the system tells him he can't turn them into his minions, because their mana is contaminated. He receives a permit, which allows him to enter the second floor, but he can only use it on the teleportation circle. He notes that he doesn't want to walk, because the dungeon is enormous, so he summons the leader of the Ice Bears, and he orders it to take him to the teleportation circle. Demons block their path, but it charges past them, and he's impressed by its strength, so he decides to name it Tank. We see Haein in the swimming pool, and the other girls think she's gorgeous. But she recalls that Choi told her about the winged monsters from Jeju Island, and she wonders why he isn't telling the public about it. So he reveals that it's an order from the association, saying they don't want everyone to panic. But he tells her not to worry, as he mentions that they need to strengthen their guild so that they can defeat the monsters. Jinwoo continues to hunt demons, as he notes that the dungeon is filled with B-rank monsters, but they continue to get stronger as he climbs the castle. He notes that it's easy to clear the floors, as long as he focuses on the demons that carry entry permits. But he thinks the castle has 100 floors, and he notes that he needs to hurry, because he doesn't have enough food to reach the top floor. Meanwhile, Heejin tells Sang that Jinwoo isn't home, so she thinks they shouldn't have come to his place. Sang knows that he hasn't been participating in raids, saying his last known location is at the very center of the urban area. She wonders how Sang knows about it, so he explains that he knows how to do his job, but he wonders where he went. Jinwoo completes his quest, and he sees the Lord of the Lower Floors. His minions start fighting the demons in the area, as he notes that his intelligence has increased, so he now has better control over his army. But the boss suddenly attacks them, so he punches it with all his might, and it gets blown away, as he realizes his strength has also improved. But it immediately recovers, and it charges at him, so Iron gives him his shield, and he uses it to defend himself, as the boss attacks him relentlessly. He sees an opening, so he lunges at the boss, but it takes a swing, and he realizes that he's about to get hit. But he uses Ruler's hand to stop the attack, and he manages to dodge it, as he realizes that the boss can read his movements. He notes that he needs to aim for its head to defeat it, and he runs away, as it chases after him. But he sees a building, so he uses his skills to climb it, as the boss crashes into it. He then takes his knife, and he launches a surprise attack, cutting the boss's neck. It falls to the ground, and the debris crushes its body, as Jinwoo receives a world tree fragment as a reward for defeating it. We see Il-hwan in the interrogation room, where Dong-soo calls him a talking monster, but he explains that he's human, telling Dong-soo to test his DNA if he doesn't believe him. He mentions that he's upset because his boss interrupted him when he was about to have some fun. But Il-hwan asks him how much he knows about gates and magic beasts, thinking the worst disaster is about to happen, and he mentions that his goal is to prevent it. Dong-soo thinks they can stop it if they gather the hunters around the world, but Il-hwan tells him they won't stand a chance. He checks Il-hwan's record, realizing he's Jinwoo's father, so he threatens to kill him, telling him his son is already dead. We see firemen at the scene, as the people realize that the disaster was caused by two S-rank hunters. But they think they're lucky that the damage didn't spread, because Dong-soo was defeated in an instant. We return to Jinwoo, as his minions slaughter the demons on the 75th floor, and he tells the boss that the battle is one-sided. But the boss just stares at him, as he wonders if magic beasts also feel fear, and he finishes it off, as the system tells him he has leveled up again. But he realizes that he's out of food, and he notes that he still has a long way to go, because there are 25 floors left in the castle. We learn that he received an earring and a necklace from the bosses he defeated, and they're part of a set which boosts his stats. But he notes that he still needs to find an item to complete it, thinking the next boss will drop it, and he also received an item called the Avaricious Glass, which can boost the magic power of his mages. He opens a cursed loot box, which gives him a key, but the system doesn't give him information about it. He notes that he was able to gather 2 of the items needed for the Elixir of Life, and he thinks about finding the last item to save his mother. But he decides to call it a day, thinking he will find it the next time he returns. He notes how his level has increased, but he thinks he still needs to get even stronger to obtain the last item of the Elixir. He thinks he won't be able to raise his level as an E-rank hunter, since he won't be able to participate in the higher level raids, so he decides to have his rank reassessed. We see Hyun at the Hunters Association, and he checks out the candidates that are there to be assessed. But he's surprised to see Jinwoo, and he reports to Beck, who decides to head there immediately. One of the candidates mentions that he needs to make money by becoming a hunter because he wants to be a good provider for his family. So another candidate tells him not to worry, because he will be able to make a living as a hunter as long as he isn't an E-ranker. Jinwoo takes the test, and the examiner tells him to place his hand on the black crystal, so he touches it, but she keeps getting an error. The director asks her what's wrong, so she tells him the machine isn't working, and he tries to help, but he also gets an error. He's shocked by the result, telling her there's nothing wrong with the machine, but it can't measure Jinwoo's magic power because it's off the charts, so they think he's qualified to become the country's 10th S-rank hunter. Meanwhile, we see Jinchul talking to Choi, telling him the association performed an autopsy on a winged ant to estimate its magic power, but it will take time before they reach a conclusion. Choi knows about the Red Gate incident, and he asks Jinchul who defeated the dungeon boss, but he mentions that he doesn't know. They suddenly hear a commotion, so they decide to check it out, and we see everyone at the association staring at Jinwoo, because they know the machine couldn't measure his power. The director tells him to return for his license after 3 days, because they still need to determine his rank, and Hyun thinks about approaching him, but Choi suddenly appears. Everyone recognizes him as the representative of the Hunters Guild, and he sees that Jinwoo has some mad aura. He introduces himself to Jinwoo, asking him if he wants to join their guild, but Jinwoo just ignores him, and everyone can't believe he rejected his offer. He suddenly disappears, so they think he's an assassin type, but Choi is surprised when he sees Beck rushing there to look for Jinwoo. So he realizes that the White Tigers are interested in him, thinking Jinwoo must have been the one who conquered the Red Gate. We see Jinwoo with his mother, thinking she could wake up at any moment, and when he leaves her room, he sees Jinchul, so he wonders if the surveillance team is looking into him. So Jinchul explains that the team's job is to control hunters, but they aren't monitoring him because he committed a crime, telling him someone wants to meet him. Gun-Yi appears, and he introduces himself as the president of the Hunters Association. He congratulates Jinwoo for becoming an S-rank hunter, but he wonders why the director asked him to return after 3 days. So Gun-Yi explains that it's a grace period, saying they wanted to meet him before everyone learned about his new rank. Gun-Yi explains that the association needs good hunters, but most of them join the big guilds for money and fame, saying Jinchul is one of their experts, but he isn't even an S-rank hunter. Gun-Yi invites Jinwoo to join them, and he promises to give him the most important position, but Jinwoo wonders why he would do that. So he explains that the hunters protect the citizens from magic beasts, and the 5 major guilds are at the center, but they're barely maintaining the balance. He mentions that it would be ruined if Jinwoo joins one of them, so he should join the Hunters Association instead, and make it the 6th power that controls them. Gun-Yi tells him he should do it for his country, and he considers joining the association, thinking it would give him a brighter future. He notes that Gun-Yi is the first S-class hunter in the country, and he's already over 80, but he's still ridiculously strong, and Jinwoo wants to work with him. But he decides to refuse the invitation, and Gun-Yi thinks it's because they don't pay as much money, but Jinwoo explains that he wants to keep fighting, saying he belongs in the dungeon. Gunyi realizes he's serious, and he notes that if he were younger, he would have wanted to fight by his side. He tells Jinwoo he won't force him to join them, and he thanks him for his time. As Jinwoo leaves, Gunyi is disappointed in himself, because even S-rank healers can't cure aging, and he tells Jinchul to cancel his appointments because he doesn't want to be disturbed. Meanwhile in America, Dong-soo wakes up in the hospital, and the deputy director asks him if Il-hwan is really a magic beast. He thinks it must be true, because he had superhuman powers, and the deputy director tells him to return after he recovers. He wonders what happened to Il-hwan, so the deputy director reveals that they're tracking him, but he doesn't think they can capture him, since even Dong-soo was no match for him. He recalls that Il-hwan told him to leave his family alone, and he can't believe he got humiliated, so he wants to get revenge, but he knows he will need an artifact to defeat him. We learn that artifacts are high-level equipment, which can't be created by craftsmen, and we see Jinwoo browsing the online shop for artifacts, but he realizes that they're insanely expensive. He thinks he needs to be fully equipped to conquer the demon's castle, and he considers selling the avaricious glass that he received, thinking it should be worth a lot, since it can double the damage of magic. But he thinks it will attract attention, because he's just an A-rank hunter, so everyone will wonder how he got it. He thinks about entering an A-rank gate, so that he can use it as an excuse, and he sees the Hunters Guild looking for someone to join the mining team. We see Gunyi browsing Jinwoo's documents, wondering if he's a false ranker, because he looks like a different person in his photo. But Jinchul thinks it's unlikely, because there are records of him being critically injured. Jinchul reveals that he's paying for his mother's medical expenses, as well as his sister's tuition fees, so Gunyi realizes he's a good person. But Jinchul mentions that he joined the Hunters Guild's mining team, and Gunyi doesn't understand why he would do that. We return to Jinwoo, as he joins the other miners, and he introduces himself as an E-rank hunter. We learn that for large-scale raid missions, mining teams collect the mana crystals, while recovery teams dispose of the monsters' remains, after the assault teams hunt them down. We see Choi inside the gate, and he tells everyone to stand back, as he unleashes his flames to burn all of the monsters. His flames return